Good morning, everyone. Now, today we'll first take the review of the previous lecture in which we had seen the basic requirement of design are statics, dynamics, and solid mechanics or strength of material. In that, we had seen the statics says all bodies are rigid, but in contrast, we say the strength of material or solid mechanics deals with the internal changes or the deformations that are occurring in the body when the load is applied to a particular body. Now we have to see with an example what are the things that we can go for the analyzing these effect when we go for a particular example of a lever. Now with the example of a simple lever shown in figure, we will see the difference between the rigid body mechanics and the solid mechanics. Now in statics, what we do, we just consider a lever. What will be the force P that will be required to lift the load? In that, we have studied in physics the mechanical advantage. As the position of the pivot changes, the force required will be less, or as the position of the load W changes, the requirement of the force P will change. In statics, we are neither bothered about what will be the change in the bar with the change in the load W. If the load W increases, we will see that the force required will be to lift the load will be more. But if we increase the length of the bar, we will see that the force required will be again less. In statics, we are neglecting what is the effect if we increase the length, if we increase the load, or if we increase the force that is required for lifting the load W. The same figure is shown in a FBD, that is the free body diagram, where it represents in statics we are determining the reaction, we are determining the force P with the, if the L is the length of the particular bar, we can see what will be the load that will be required or what will be the reaction that will be required for lifting the load with the help of the applied mechanics. In contrast, when we go to solid mechanics or the strength of material, the main aim here is to see that the bar should neither bend nor break. Now in that, what are the things that we can consider? First is the rigidity of the material to deformation. As we say, the load increases, that is W increases, we will see that there will be a deformation in the bar. The deformation in the bar can be avoided by increasing the size of the bar. But we have to see what are the changes that are occurring in the bed, in the particular, we can say the bar, when the length is neither changed nor the load is increased. Now when we go on increasing the load naturally, as the load increases, the bar will bend when we consider the bar to be flexible. So these are the things, this is the basic difference when we go for the considering the particular application of solid mechanics in the simple example. In solid mechanics, we have to find the solution or we have to investigate what should be the dimensions of the bar so that it will not break nor be under deformation, or it will not have puddler, that is it will not be out of use for the application. In solid mechanics we study the principle that governs the two basic fundamental concepts, the strength and the rigidity. As we have seen, the strength or the rigidity is not of much importance in statics, but here in solid mechanics we have to see, depending on the properties of the material, the strength and the rigidity varies, and that is the basic when we go for the designing of any component. When we have to design a component, the first thing that we have to see is to select the material, and these material properties should be known. In the previous lecture I had told that from where to get the properties of the various materials. We have seen that we have to refer a design data handbook which gives you the details of the different properties of the material and how the material can be selected, which will be further will be studying in your design, how to select the puddler, that is the material from the design data handbook. Now we have seen this deformation. Now what is the effect of the load that is acting on the bar? For that we have to go for the analysis of the internal forces acting on that particular bar or a body. With an example we can say, consider an arbitrary body which is having an arbitrary shape, is acted by different forces as shown in the figure. Here we have shown only four forces, F1, F2, F3, F4. There may be n number of forces acting on the body, but we have to see how to analyze the internal forces on that particular body. In statics, we start with determining the resultant of the applied forces to determine whether the body remains at rest or not. Now in this we have to see what is the effect of these forces acting on the body. In the previous figure we have seen the number of forces acting on the body. If the resultant of these forces is 0, we say that the body is in static equilibrium as per our basics of applied mechanics. And such a condition where the body is in static equilibrium prevails only in the structures. If the resultant is not 0, we may apply the inertia forces to bring about the dynamic equilibrium of the body. And this is the case of dynamic loading. Usually for the strength of material or the solid mechanics, we consider the static equilibrium condition. In solid mechanics or strength of material, we make an additional investigation of the internal distribution of the forces. In the previous figure, we have seen that the forces are acting and randomly some forces get nullified, and then we say that the body is in static equilibrium. But in practical application, if there is an unbalance of these forces, then what changes occur in the body, that we have to see with the help of the internal force distribution that is acting on each of the force, or the effect of that force on the body which is subjected to different forces. Now, how to analyze the force analysis, how the analysis is done of the forces. Randomly take a section AB which is intersecting the body, or it is cutting the body into two halves. When the body is cut into two parts, we have to see what is the internal forces acting on this section. In general, the internal forces reduce to a force and a couple that will be acting on the element. For convenience, they are resolved into the components that we have seen in statics, how to resolve the forces in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. We have to see that when we are resolving, we are finding the normal force, the tangential force or the rotational force that are acting on the element. The details we have to see for these will be in the next slide, which shows the analysis of the internal forces acting on any section. Now this is just a representation of a particular, that is a cut section. What are the internal forces acting on element when number of forces are acting on the element. Now this figure shows what are the how the forces are resolved. The green line shows Pxx, the red line shows Pxy, and the blue line shows the Pxz. These are the three surfaces mutually perpendicular to each other. And in that case, we say that is, and these three forces meet at a point O, which is the centroid of the particular, that is the force. Now these forces we can say are to be resolved for according to the requirement of the particular, that is the forces which are acting on the element. The origin O is the reference axis and it is taken as the centroid, which is the key reference point on the section of the solid. If we have, that is x-axis is normal to the section is known as the x surface. We have seen that is the Pxx. The first subscript denotes the face on which the component acts. The second subscript indicates the direction of the forces on the particular component. Thus, when we see the forces Pxx, x, the first x indicates the x surface, the second indicates the normal to x surface. Similarly, Pxy is the force on x-axis acting in y direction. Similarly, Pxz is the force acting on x plane in z direction. So these are nothing but the force analysis that we have to go for in the three mutually perpendicular directions x, y and z. So in this case, now when we go for the force description, we have to see what are the things that we have to consider for an application of the force that is acting on a element. Now in force description, we will see what is the nature of the force that is acting on the plane. Now Pxx is the axial force. This component measures the pulling force perpendicular to the section or the x-axis. Now this is nothing but we can say that is the force acting normal to the x-plane, where we have to see that depending on the direction of the force, we have to see if it is coming outward, we say it is a pull. The pull represents the tensile force. And what is the effect of that P? If it is a tensile force, it tries to elongate the member in the direction of the pull. Similarly, if it is a push, that is the arrow going into the body, it represents the compressive force P that tends to shorten the member, and that is called the compressive force acting on the element. Now here the capital P represents the force that is acting on the plane of the section. Similarly, the Pxy and Pxz, these are the forces. I told you in the previous slides that Pxz or Pxy, the first subscript Px represents the x plane and y indicates the direction. Now what is the effect of these Pxy and Pxz? These are acting along the plane of the cut section. So these forces are called the shear forces. These components offer the resistance to sliding the portion to one side of the section, so that there is no, we can say that is sliding over the surface. Now these are the resistance forces that we have to consider for each of the case. Now these resultant shear force is denoted by tau or nu. Tau x and tau y are the forces acting along the x plane and y plane for the particular, that along the plane for a section that we are considering. Similarly, the figure shows mxx, mxy and mxz. What are these mxx, mxy and mxz? Now, if we consider the force mxx, it represents a twist in the force. This is nothing but the torque that is acting on the element. This component measures the resistance to the twisting of the member and is commonly given by a symbol capital T. Similarly, what is the effect of mxy and mxz? The effect of these mxy and mxz is nothing but it gives the effect of bending. So it is called the bending moment, which tries to bend the element in y direction and z direction. These components measure the resistance to the bending of the member about the y-axis and z-axis, and they are denoted by capital M suffix y and capital M suffix z. From the above, it is clear that the internal effects of the given force or a load depends on the selection of the orientation of the section. If the loading acts in one plane, we have seen the plane xy, then the components reduce to 3 pxx, pxy and mxz. That is, P is the axial force or the compressive force acting on the element, tau is the shear force, mx is the bending moment. Now this is just a condition where we have seen that we have considered only one force acting on one section. But in actual practice, when we go for any component, the forces will be varying in multiple directions. It may be one direction, two direction, three direction, or four direction, or in multiple. But when we go for multiple directions, we have to see that the resolving of the forces on the planes perpendicular to each of these force is very difficult. That's why in solid mechanics, usually we consider one dimension, two dimension and maximum three dimensions. Why? Because the complication of the calculation of the forces acting in each plane is the number of suffix will go on changing, which is very difficult to calculate. If you see in the reference books, many, that is multi-directional forces calculation, and the equation becomes very long. As we have seen, for a single force there are three forces. If you go for the two directional forces, it will be six forces. If you go for three dimension, it may be 9 or 10. So these goes on increasing, and the writing the equation for such forces is very difficult. So usually in solid mechanics we consider 1D, 2D, 3, that is one dimensional, two dimensional and three dimensional forces. And for the simplification, usually we go for 1D and 2D. Initially we will start with 1D, that is one dimensional force, what is the effect of that. Then we'll go simultaneously for the second two dimension and the multiple directions. So when we go for multiple directions, we will see what are the complications in calculation of the stresses and the strain that will be acting on the element. The purpose of studying solid mechanics is to ensure that the structures used will be safe against the maximum internal effects that may be produced by any combination of loading on this structure. So we have to see that when we go for the safety of the particular component, we require what are the properties of the material, what is the strength of the material, and what is the dimension of the component. So that is the basic thing that we have to study in strength of material or the solid mechanics, that how the component will be safe to subject when it is subjected to the different loads that are acting on the element. So in the next lecture we will see what is the effect of these forces in one dimension when we are considering for the simple stress and the simple strain. In that we will be studying what are the things that we have to consider for the calculation of the stress and strain in one dimension, two dimension or multiple dimensions of the forces acting on an element. Because when we go for practical application, no component has got a single dimensional force. It will be in multiple directions. We can take any practical example. It may be a shaft, it may be a screw jack, or it may be any other component. When it is subjected to a load, multiple directional forces will be acting, and that we have to study in detail. So next lecture we will be starting with the simple stress and strain acting on an element. Thank you.